In this video, we are going to look at two examples where we multiply and simplify fractions. Now, you might be familiar with the process for multiplying fractions, and that's wonderful. But when I show you these two examples, I'm going to kind of show you what goes on behind the scenes when we multiply fractions. And the reason why this is really good for you to see right now is because later on, when we get to a further chapter down the road where we start studying rational functions and we have to multiply rational expressions, this technique that I'm about to show you is going to be really helpful later on down the road. So just watch. All right. So we have at first the fraction 1/4 times 2/3. Now, we know there's basically two ways to multiply fractions. You can multiply straight across, meaning multiply your numerators and multiply your denominators, or we can do what a lot of people call cross cancel. So I don't know if you could kind of hear the air quotes I just did with my fingers, cross cancel. That kind of gets misinterpreted. People start using it for different problems where they're not supposed to use it. What we need to understand is that when we multiply fractions, the shortcut, there's those air quotes again, the shortcut is to really divide out common factors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this denominator of 4 and I'm going to factor it into 2 times 2. So I've rewritten 1/4 as 1 over 2 times 2. And now I'm going to multiply that by the fraction 2/3. Now, we know that when we multiply fractions, we can multiply our numerators and we can multiply our denominators. So I've written everything as a product. So in the numerator, I have 1 times 2. And in the denominator, I now have 2 times 2 times 3. Here's where the dividing out of the common factors happens. I have one factor of 2 in the numerator and another factor of 2 in the denominator, so I can divide them out. So I'm left with 1 in my numerator and 2 times 3 in my denominator for a final answer of 1/6. Okay, let's look at the next one. I have 14/15 times 5 over 7. So I'm going to factor the numerator 14 into 7 times 2, and then I'm going to factor the denominator 15 into 3 times 5. And then that's going to get multiplied by the fraction 5/7. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write both my numerator and my denominators as products. So in my numerator, I have 7 times 2 times 5, and my denominator is 3 times 5 times 7. Now there are two places where I can divide out common factors. 7 and 7 are common factors, and then I can also divide out the 5 and the 5. Now, it's not just magic that we cross these numbers out and they magically disappear. When I divide 5 by 5, it leaves 1 behind. 5 over 5 is 1 over 1. And when I divide 7 by 7, it's 1 over 1. So really in my numerator, I have 1 times 2 times 1, which is just 2. And in my denominator, I just have 3 times 1, which is just 3, for my final answer of 2/3. So I hope you appreciated this process. Like I said, down the road when we start simplifying rational expressions, you're going to be really glad that you saw this, and hopefully you make the connection when we start looking at rational expressions in the future.